Dobre, teraz už môže zase robiť.
A že môžeš už zase robiť.
Aha, okej.
No len ja som bol úplne vyblokovaný, vieš, ja som nemohol zatvoriť a savenúť.
Toto?
Nie, že nemohol zatvoriť a savenúť.
Aha, okej.
Vidíte, ja som zabudla, že napozývať ľudí.
Už sme možno aj online.
Aha.
No tak veď napozývať nie je až taký problém. Treba to našerovať. Going live in 2 minúty 51. Čiže to je OK?
A to je iné, to je ten countdown, ale...
No ale ja nevidím to video, takže neviem. Automaticky sa to šeruje do tých grup? Alebo ako to je?
Do tej... Aha, asi to teda je, že... Lebo ja tu už vidím vlastne ten live stream, ale ešte je odpočítavanie, takže nás...
A do eventu to je našerované?
Áno, v evente by mal byť link. Hej.
Dobre, a ja si to našerujem na svoj wall.
Kristina, úplne ideálne sleduj to na tvojom kompe cez tvoj Facebook.
Ja tu mám svoj Facebook.
OK, dobre.
Inak ja neviem nájsť ten link.
Ale říkám, môžem si dať.
To nemusíš úplne.
Prosím vás, kde je ten link?
Ktorý?
No, dám ti ho do toho Messengera. Dám ti ho do toho Messengera.
Ale on je v tom evente, že ľudia ho nájdú?
Na Subdigital stránke.
Je všade našerovaný.
Lebo ja ho vôbec nemám. No,
ale teraz ti ho posielam.
A ktorý zvuk si je lepšie nechať zapnutý?
Aké máme možnosti?
No, na Zoome alebo na streame.
Stream ide o pol minúty neskôr. Stream vôbec nesleduje.
No. A ideme live o 43 sekúnd.
Asi.
Čiže ani si to nemám zapínať ten stream.
To nemusíš, nie?
To je zbytočné.
Hej. Teraz budú všetci ticho.
Hej. Čakáme. Countdown. 7, 6. Going live in 0, 0.
Ale to aj včera nám robilo, či ráno.
Kým sa to rozbehne však.
A neviem, to aj pár minút trvalo. Neviem, v čom bol problém. Ty si neurobil vtedy nič?
Nie.
Inak vy máte nainštalovanú tú apku
Áno.
Áno.
a ste už použili?
Teraz ju používame. Počkaj, ale ktorú tú
Korona
apku?
apku, sorry.
Ja? Hej, ale ona vraj nie je dobrá, takže asi ju dám preč. A naozaj, Tomáš, to včera začalo len tak samo od seba?
No, takto to bolo. Takto sme to spustili a...
No ale ja viem, že pár minút to trvalo a potom ty si povedal aha a potom to už zrazu naozaj išlo.
Nie, vyzerá, že to... Nie, všetko by malo byť nastavené tak, ako je. Aj túto odpočítavanie na stránke mi ukazuje preview fetching video stream. Fetching video stream, this can take a few seconds. Dobre, a teraz ideme. Okay, I think now it works. Yeah, we're online.
Okay.
Well, hello then. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Tomáš. Hello, Lucia. Actually, in the other order. Hello, Lucia. Hello, Tomáš.
Yeah. Okay, I think now it works. Yeah, we're online.
Okay.
Hello, hello.
How are you? Where are you? Catching this live stream?
Oh, I'm at home, as we all should be at home, right? Where are you?
I'm on Mars.
Good.
Mars is yellow.
If that's your home, no, actually Mars is red.
That is true, but yeah. Red is just very, very dark yellow.
All right. Maybe you're on cheese. Cheese is yellow.
Yeah, I'm in our studio, which is almost as a home. Almost no one is here, so social distancing works for me as well.
And you're keeping safe, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen this video of Wes Anderson's like scenes from Wes Anderson's movies where like it actually seems that Wes Anderson has been putting into his scenarios social distancing since ever. Like all his characters have like this really big distance between each other.
Yeah, it all looks like in a movie, but let's hope this will be over soon. Anyway, so it seems like we've got some people already watching, so
yeah, we should start. Yeah. Normally, these few minutes was about testing if everything works. I think it works. So let's start officially. Let me introduce our guests today. Today we are online in a stream with Lucia Dubacova, who is our friend and colleague from Slovak Center of Design, and she works there as a co-curator of exhibitions. She was a co-curator of the exhibition we will be speaking today. which is called Human by Design. And she also works at the Research and Development Department of the Slovak Center of Design, which is called InnoLab. We are online today also with Jan Pernecký, who is a dear colleague of mine from Subdigital Studio, and myself. I am also from Subdigital Studio. We are architects. We work in between fields of computational design, architecture, and
technology, design,
media.
software,
everything.
media.
Yeah. We decided to approach the world with in this way with live streams because our work usually is physical, and nowadays this is the only way how can we somehow present what we are doing, and actually it's the only way how you can these days attend or join the exhibition we a couple of weeks ago opened together with Slovak Center of Design in Vienna. So this is the occasion.
Yeah, that was the trigger why we actually made this stream today. But to be honest, we were discussing for a long time already that it's kind of difficult for us to communicate what we actually do and who we actually are. And we were planning to write blogs or just to record some videos or articles, just to make some articles. But it seems like we were always too busy with the work. And this unfortunate situation is a good opportunity to actually communicate who we are. And I think it would make sense to make the first podcast about the Subdigital and what do we do and how do we do stuff and why we decided to do what we actually do. But let's skip that for a moment because as Tomáš said, today the podcast will be slightly different. We'll just jump right into the topic and we will talk about one specific project that we made. And maybe the next week or the week after we can talk about Subdigital and motivations behind. Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Did you already introduce the exhibition itself? Yeah.
I thought that Lucia can make it, but maybe I will make the first
say a couple of words
first sentence, first word.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were actually a big, and we were happy that we were part of a big project that was led by the Slovak Center of Design. The project was about exhibiting contemporary research and design projects from Slovakia and Austria. The whole project was called Human by Design. And us, the Subdigital Studio, were assigned, and we were part of this project as architects of the exhibition. So our part of the work was to work out the spatial solution for exhibiting a lot of different projects, different works from different fields, and to prepare this exhibition to be presented in different places and different spaces, not only in Bratislava but also in Vienna, and hopefully we are planning together with the Slovak Center of Design to hopefully do the exhibition in also other venues. But yeah, I would like ask Lucia to introduce the exhibition, the whole Human by Design project, a little bit more.
Just briefly, I will jump in. If you're watching this video live on Facebook, you can just put some comments, questions, or just write us anything that you want us to talk about regarding this exhibition and our work on that. Also, I think Lucia will be happy to answer your questions. So don't hesitate to somehow approach us, and we'll do our best to reply.
Yeah. We are following the comments on Facebook page, yeah. So under this stream. So feel free to comment and ask if you have anything to contribute.
But no rude comments.
Oh, come on. People are never rude on Facebook.
We will delete them.
So, or maybe they will just self-curate. Well, thank you guys so much for this idea with the whole podcast. I'm myself very much looking forward to the next editions as well. And thanks for making us part of this first edition, which I think we will remember the best. So just to put a little bit of context into where I came into the process of the exhibition. I joined in when the concept and part of the plan for creating Human by Design, probing social and methodological innovation in design is the full name, was pretty much defined, especially by the director of the Slovak Design Center, Petra Rjabinin, who was also the main curator of the whole exhibition. But also there were many other collaborators and co-curators from either Slovak Design Center or our partner institutions. Actually, when I was today sharing the event of this podcast, I realized that not only now, but already I'm thinking about it since the whole pandemic started, how on time was this exhibition and how actually super relevant it is at the moment. Although it's very sad that many people couldn't see it because of the lockdown of all countries in Europe. But basically, the name itself, Human by Design, is borrowed from a book by Tony Fry, who is an Austrian philosopher. And he talks about the changing role of designers as a response to different kinds of challenges and changing conditions that we have to face as a humanity in developing world. Or in the current world, especially considering survival of humankind. He talks about topics like focusing more on ideating new concepts rather than creating new objects, and acting responsibly towards nature, including humankind. So that is a very kind of, on one hand, obvious point, but for me, I think you can never remind yourself this too much, that there's, I really don't like thinking in this duality of, okay, we are protecting nature and then there is humankind. I think we tend to forget about this, that we are nature, we are part of it, we have to protect ourselves eventually. And I think we can feel it today very much as well on our own skin. So the exhibition itself consists of multiple projects, and those projects are each in different stage. So you can see there everything from concepts through different kinds of proposals for new methods or model situations, case studies, or even already created innovative solutions. And that's also what I like about it, that although it's being critical, it's being in some way very practical. So it's not only saying what we are doing or the way design is being realized nowadays is bad. It's also proposing solutions, or at least ideas for solutions. And also many of the artworks were actually especially commissioned for this exhibition. So there were artists creating new artworks as a process, as part of the process of the exhibition curation. And naturally, the exhibition formed into 5 areas of focus, which were different kinds of inventions, then places of innovation like Nova Cvernovka in Bratislava, which some of you might know. Then zero impact, focusing on zero impact design processes, institutions and change, and symposium. So I think this is a good time to do my best to at least virtually take you through some of the projects. Yeah, please don't forget, if you have any questions, write us in the comments. I will happily answer them. So the first one that I would like to show you more closer is crafting plastics. It's also, I think, the most visually pleasing part of the exhibition most of the time. It's really nice to explore all of these different colorful pieces of plastics dropping from the panels designed by Subdigital. And Crafting Plastics is actually a Slovak studio founded by Vlasta Kubušová and Miroslav Král. They are specializing in research and development of new innovative materials, especially bioplastics. They have also a new trademark called Nuatan that you can see also on the panel. And Crafting Plastics started developing this material, I think it was in 2016. And since then they went through quite a long process of experimenting with it. And what you can see at the exhibition is different stages of development of Nuatan. So it starts with showing you different kinds of forms of production that it can take. It also shows different kinds of applications that the studio experimented with. For example, I think the most interesting and the most widespread was their product of frames for sunglasses, or I think any glasses actually. And this is also what makes their approach very special, that they are really thinking of ecological materials also in practical terms and in terms of everyday life, because they are trying to pose them into situations where environmentally friendly is something that is fashionable and attractive, and not only maybe gray, green, and somehow not colorful. So this is very special about their approach. They have been involved a lot with fashion, and they have experimented with different ways of working with the material, including 3D printing, creating different kinds of products like vases or lights. They collaborated with other brands on creating, for example, shoes, and this is pretty much what you can explore in this part of the exhibition. Another project I would like to present is called Repairably, and what I personally like about it is its practicality and scalability, because it's basically a Slovak non-profit organization that certifies products which are designed in a way which makes them genuinely repairable, meaning that they fulfill certain rules or certain characteristics, which makes it easy, for example, to disassemble them. The tools that you need in order to disassemble them are accessible. You are able to access manuals that will lead you through processes of repairing them. And of course, they are made, if possible, from sustainable materials. And just in general, these products somehow are compatible with the aims of circular economies. So the way the whole project works is that there is a manifesto with 10 basic rules. And if a company that is creating certain product fulfills these rules, they can be certified a repairably label, which is a Y in parentheses with a unique alphanumeric character. And they can qualify for this certificate, and then the non-profit organization will issue them one, and it means they are fulfilling the requirements of circular economies. So yeah, for example, you can see on the picture now a toaster on the left. It has these round screws, and actually those screws, it's impossible to unscrew them without a very, very special screwdriver. So actually, if your toaster breaks, you can't open it, you can't do anything with it, you have to throw it away and buy a new one. So they're also testing products for whether they are repairable or not. And this is a great example. I think we can go to the next project, which was partly created in collaboration with the design center itself, and especially the director of the Slovak Design Museum, Mara Schmidt, and the designer Jan János. Name of this project is Quad. And basically it's a copper object that is a house for solitary bees. Certainly a topic that is very relevant today. As many of us probably know, it is super important that we start to change our approach to the environment, including insects, which are super important for our survival. And maybe when I say insects, many people know that we really need to protect bees because of their pollination capabilities, but not so many people know that actually there is many different kinds of bees, and one of the most important kind is solitary bee, which doesn't build their own nest. They actually look for small holes in trees, and they lay eggs and basically use these little holes as their home. However, the more we urbanize the earth, the less opportunities for these solitary bees are there to build their houses, and they're slowly dying out, although they are the most productive pollinators out of all the different kinds of bees. So Jan János and Mara Schmidt designed this really beautiful object, which creates an alternative home for solitary bees within urban environments. And it's like a copper balloon, which is half filled with concrete. And at the bottom part of it, there are little holes drilled into the concrete, which serve as these, instead of the holes in the trees, and bees can create their nests in there. And actually, thanks to the specific qualities of copper, squat also is able to heat up to the correct temperatures in cities for bees to live there. So it's a really practical way how to cohabit with important insects even within urban environments. And this particular squat is on a tripod. It's a standing version which you can put into your garden or even into a park, but the designers even thought of another solution for public spaces, which would be hanging squat from a tree, for example. And I'm sure they would also make a beautiful aesthetical contribution to the parks. And probably the last part of the exhibition that I would like to talk about is from our two projects. They are very much related to each other, and they're both from production of the new research and development department at the Slovak Design Center called InnoLab, which is actually a department which is trying to be very open to outside professional community. And we also have a public group on Facebook, and you can find more information about InnoLab on the Slovak Design Center website. Please do get in touch if you wish to be involved in our activities. And yeah, we are very open for collaboration. But to come back to the exhibition, two projects that we developed as part of InnoLab are the Library of Materials and Library of Forms or Shapes. The one that you're seeing right now is Library of Materials. Basically, product design consists of 4 basic principles, and that is function, form, color, and material. However, for designers to be able to make the best decisions or to be really up to date with available materials, it's really practical to have a place and a really in-depth documentation of different kinds of materials available locally. Our library of materials is located directly at the Slovak Design Center, and it's specializing into somehow special and innovative materials, mainly coming from Slovak production. For example, you can find there Nuatan from Crafting Plastic Studio that I talked about at the beginning. You can find there special foam aluminium that was developed by Slovak scientists at the Slovak Academy of Sciences, and many, many different other ones. As you can see on the picture, they are displayed in samples on boards with detailed descriptions. And there is, for each material, a specialized QR code that can take you into a digital database where you can find out really detailed information about its chemical characteristics, for example. And as well, you can find an example product for each material in the library. The library is accessible to professionals and public. You just need to contact the Slovak Design Center when you would like to visit, and we will let you know what are the next steps and when can you come and explore it. The Library of Shapes took form of a specialized software that we are actually developing together with Subdigital studio as well, because they have another part that is also working on software development. And the idea of this software, which is called Urban Selector, was to kind of experiment with the role of designer and possibly make the role of designer more efficient. And instead of relying on the designer to come up with hundreds of thousands or thousands of new ideas for new forms, we wanted to see what happens if we let an algorithm to create these new forms, and then leave the designer with many options, and leave him with more space for experimentation with these new forms that he selects from the generated shapes that the software creates. At the moment, it's not really an end product. It's more of a research platform, and it is made to test various different algorithms, which let you co-create shapes, or create shapes out of multiple different objects. Basically, it's a tool for experimenting, and we hope to be testing it soon together with public, and we will definitely inform about these testing sessions on our website.
Sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah, I just wanted to invite you. Maybe you would like to say something about it.
Yeah, true. The reason is that we are also responsible for this one project. So we not only made the architecture of the exhibition, but we are also exhibiting one of the exhibits, which is this software. So we are not only designers and architects, we are also developing a software that is going to be used by designers and architects. But in reality, I wouldn't really focus on this one right now, but I would like to announce that we are already planning a special dedicated podcast for the software itself. So maybe in a couple of weeks, a very few weeks maybe, we will just go through the software. What is it good for? What is quite unique about it from the user point of view? But also we'll discuss the technical details with our lead developer, Jan Todt. I was also part of this project personally, so I think we will have a discussion, the two of us. Maybe if Lucia, you could join also that one, we'll be very happy. And Mara Schmidt, who was the one who initiated the project. But generally speaking, this is a software that can hybridize various forms, various shapes. Tomáš, if you could show a picture with a car rather than this one. So basically, you take a couple of existing models, and you can create hybrid models that have features and traits of all the source object. And we tried to achieve this technologically in a very contemporary way. So we decided to use a modern programming language called Rust, which is safe and fast and very difficult for me to use. But eventually, it pays off because I think we created a piece of very stable and well-performing software. That is quite an open platform. We can keep developing it further, and it's also available. The source code is available for the community, and we hope that the community takes over and helps us put new features into the software. Back to you, Lucia.
Yeah, I just remembered what I want to say about it is that what makes it especially interesting, I think, is that it is something between coding and the regular 3D modeling software, right? So it actually lets you explore, as a designer who doesn't necessarily code as well, it kind of gives you a different idea of how 3D modeling programs potentially work and how can you kind of interfere with their way of working, right?
We call it a gateway to the parametric modeling paradigm. There are very good existing software that let you design things in a parametric way. I think we will talk about this even in this podcast later on when we discuss the design of the exhibition itself. But what we tried to do is we tried to make this a little bit more accessible to people who use the 3D software as if it was a sketchbook just in 3D. We want to show them that even when they do it that way, when they just click and drag and modify things directly, they also somehow create a stream of commands, some sort of a program that eventually creates the final form. So final model. So it's not only about hybridizing the forms, but we are also somehow making the world of parametric design more accessible, and we are also able to implement more and more features that are not only about some sort of morphing of shapes, but all sorts of model manipulation in a parametric way. And we already did, so it already has quite a lot of features.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think this, yeah, this was the project that was the last one I wanted to introduce, but maybe the last thing I would like to add about the exhibition, which for me really stands out, or like that was the feeling I had after I saw it all together for the first time at the vernissage, was that when you're leaving, you really have the feeling that, okay, there is a way, and many people have really fantastic ideas about how can we change our systems, how can we change our products, our materials, our production processes, and there are many people working really hard on actually implementing these solutions. So this is for me the true impact of the exhibition, that it not only gives you a hope or some kind of potential ideas, but it gives you it shows you actual solutions that are very often already implemented. And I think this is basically something we should continue with and explore even more. And if people are interested to know more about the exhibition and to know about all the objects that are there, we are planning with the Design Center to create a similar session to this one, which will be a specialized guided tour through the whole exhibition, and we will be announcing the date and time on our social media and website sometime soon. So just follow us and you will find out.
We will share as well. So if you will get also through our channels to Slovak Center of Design.
Actually, I will take the opportunity to ask you two, what were your emotions or like thoughts after seeing everything together? You know, we were thinking so much about the design, and then sometimes you forget about what is the exhibition for you, since you don't feel you are the visitor. You are, right?
Well, it's at first it's quite a lot of work. So
exactly.
After each of the projects, when you finish it, when it's finished successfully, you feel very happy, and you feel relieved that everything worked as it was planned, which was the case of the project. That at the end of the day, everything actually clicked, and we managed, I think, to the satisfaction of all participants. We managed to develop,
we hope so.
Good result. And for us, working in a field of computational design, it is always very interesting and nice to see that something is there physically, and something is physically the result of your work. So
that's a very important part, because it's way more difficult to bring something from the computer to the reality, mainly when it's something that is challenging. But that's probably not what you were asking about. You were asking about the exhibits, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you see, we cannot really separate ourselves from the work that we conducted there. For me, it was. For me, it was important to see that all these things share very common values. And not only the things eventually look very compatible aesthetically, the exhibits themselves, which was something that we were kind of worried up front. But eventually, they share the same ideas and same hopes for the future, which we at that point didn't know that it's going to be this dystopian as it is, as it seems today. But eventually, when you see the exhibition as a whole, it actually makes a lot of sense that the collection was made this way, and all the things are complementary to each other over there. Not only they were tackling directly the ecological topics, but also different ways of conducting some sort of design research, and they all show a very urgent need to bring new approaches, new solutions, new even ways of looking at things. And this is something that when you're leaving the exhibition, you feel that this is something that somebody really cares about the future. That's very obvious from all sorts of perspectives. That's very good to see.
And for you, Tomáš?
Well, I really like the showcase of a lot of materials, because that's what I really like about our work, that we go out from the digital domain into physical. And in the research of architecture nowadays, this digital discourse we are part of, it is very often about new materials, development of new processes, new approaches to fabrication. So this is a part that I really enjoyed, and I was really inspired by the exhibited project, to see all the different ideas and approaches about new materiality and new ways of processing materials. I think from my point of view as an architect and designer, this is something which also gives me new perspectives on the work I do. And I see a great potential for collaborations and using these ideas in my work as well.
And there is one more thing that actually makes the curatorial selection very relevant, and it's absolutely obvious in this exhibition. What is the difference between the research in science and research in applied arts? And this is applied arts research, and it's very relevant, and it proves that it's very relevant. The selection of the works, it shows that when artists in practice do the research, they do have a very sound and reasonable viewpoint. And the solutions they bring, many times they are in collaboration with real scientists, but they are not only applying what the scientists are actually researching, but they also do their own research that is from their point of view, and they bring certain solutions that come with different qualities. Maybe they're not always quantifiable, but very often they are. But they also bring new reasons for actually doing something novel. And also the works themselves, they do embed the urge to actually bring something new. And they also come up with solutions. And the solutions are very unusual sometimes, very aesthetical very often. And also they're not really bounded that much by some sort of realities that the scientists and business people need to take into account, which is also very important. But this exhibition shows that the artistic research is very relevant.
I was just checking Facebook if we have some questions for Lucia, because unfortunately she will have to leave this stream. But probably people rather watch and follow than participate.
Can I still, even though that you need to leave, Lucia, can I ask you one question as well?
Yeah.
Is that fine? What about you? Is it when you sit on many chairs, which is very admirable, and one of them is very bound to the contemporary new media digital art. So you can be considered an expert in the contemporary digital art. What was in this exhibition was also very contemporary, but it was not necessarily digital art. Does this make you? How do you see the relevance of very often very traditional crafts that bring the novelty in comparison with the very high-tech electronic computational solutions that you also know very well?
Whoa. Well, I think that everybody is trying to, basically we all have the same problems. We share, no matter what are our tools or expertise, we all share the same problems, almost globally. And for me, it doesn't really matter whether you are whether you can code in 5 different languages and also build a robot and whatnot, and then combine it with a dolphin and make a very progressive power station out of it. But yeah, I mean, I've been talking to many artists these days, and they're talking about all these things of how do you channel an experience virtually, or like how do you do embodiment online and things like this. And these are questions that tackle as much design as art, as medicine, as science. We all have our own tools and ways, and I just hope that we can and all of these disciplines can collaborate to greater creativity, imagination, and that will lead us to good solutions that will eventually, hopefully, save the earth and therefore humanity. So this is the big picture.
Well, that's wonderful. It even feels like we should be finishing on this notion, but actually no. But thank you, Lucia, for joining us. We know that you are busy these days, and you're working remotely and have a lot of calls to make. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Hopefully see you soon
hopefully see you soon online, and we are looking forward to the guided tour, very detailed one.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me, and see you soon, definitely.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
And Tomasz, we should probably continue, I think.
Yeah, as we promised, the first part of this stream would be about exhibited pieces, exhibited projects, and actually we also approached our design, our idea of the exhibition architecture as it was one of the projects. So maybe Jan, you could introduce
Sure. Yeah, the thing was that there was a competition for the exhibition. We participated in the competition, and we also took the opportunity to contribute to the topic, and we wanted the exhibition itself to be one of the exhibits that was there. So there are many different projects that we were about to show. I think there were 13 or such a number, I think. And all of them were quite complex, and there's a lot of stuff that had to be communicated. So we thought that this is kind of a challenge as well. The exhibition is also some sort of a design product, so we wanted the exhibition itself to be one of the exhibits. So eventually we decided to make some sort of a landscape. And the landscape will divide the gallery to two horizontal parts. One is above the wooden board, and that's the space that belongs to the actual exhibits, and one part that is below, and that's ours. That's where we are exhibiting under the table. But the thing is that we knew that this exhibition is about to be transported, is about to be displayed at more galleries than one. So we knew that we didn't want to work with the space of the gallery, which is something that as architects, we probably would do. We would somehow incorporate the architecture of the gallery itself into the exhibition. But in this case, we decided not to. We strictly decided that everything is going to be exhibited own their own pieces of furniture or object that can be transported and placed somewhere else, so that we are not really dependent. And it actually happened. We exhibited first. The exhibition was first displayed in Slovakia in the gallery Satelit and the Slovak Design Center. It was in September last year. And then we knew that we are going to MAK in Vienna, which is a wonderful venue. And it was amazing because the exhibition was ready for reinstallation and for updating for different venues as well. So we came there to Vienna at the end of February, getting ready for the March exhibition opening. And it was great because the venue is wonderful. The place looks awesome. The gallery space is great. The light is there, very good. And we somehow populated the space with the pieces that we have. And then what happened is that in a week they shut down. So the exhibition is still there. Nobody can see it. We spent incredible amount of time on that, and well, at least this is a way how can we show you the stuff. But still, when it comes to designing the exhibition, there were those many projects, and they were so different. Sometimes we were showing stuff, sometimes we just had some sort of different data. Can you, Tomáš, somehow remember what all sorts of inputs did we have at the beginning?
Yeah, as you mentioned, we were exhibiting 13, maybe even more projects from different domains. One of the project was an initiative that was actually a workshop. Another project was presented only as a video. We had a software. We had quite big physical exhibited pieces. So this was the greatest challenge to find and design one coherent system that would be able to modify itself according to the exhibited piece, and but still to look like one family, one type of solution for the exhibition system.
Exactly. I'm thinking now we were not really planning on that, but can you show our website actually in the stream? We've got some schemes there. This is also a good opportunity to show you that we do have a website where we are showing some of our work. I actually just realized that we are not showing everything that we have, and we meanwhile collected a lot of new stuff. But anyway, as you said, we decided to somehow create one unified system to display all of these things. Like you see that there are some gravel samples and water samples, then there is some video, then there is a computer, then there is a projection, and there are objects, even some physical art pieces. There is a dent, like human tooth, shown some technological models. So we decided that for each of the exhibits, we will create some sort of an island of plinths that will be all the same. Something underneath will look different, but above
sorry
those
for
plinths,
interrupting.
Yeah.
We are on the website right now. There are different of our projects, and these are the pictures from the first exhibition in Bratislava. Mm-hmm. And this actually is the scheme that we wanted to show you.
Exactly. So we decided to take the gallery as a space and divided it into, we created a three-dimensional landscape, which is really undulating surface. Some parts are taller, some are lower, some they make waves. It's nowhere, it's horizontal. The reason is that you can imagine that all the exhibits, they have different weights and different physical requirements. So when something is tall, we put it lower. When something is heavy, we put it on something that is wider. When something needs to have some sort of distance, we put it apart. But still, you can see that there are some sort of islands on the in the gallery where something is happening, and the islands are basically divided into smaller parts, and those are the plinths. So technically, what we did is that we took the undulated surface and divided into fair cells. For those of you who know, this is really Voronoi. which is very often a forbidden thing to do in computational design, but we decided it all makes sense here, and we'll try to bring it further and to use it as much as possible in a meaningful way. So we ended up having these sorts of configurations of plinths looking like this. And for each of the exhibits, there was one of the platforms, one of the boards that we have as with a description of the project, and the rest is exhibiting the project itself, the art piece itself. Maybe if you just roll up and show one of them, just so that we have one full configuration. Yeah, whichever of these. Yeah, the one with the computer. So you can see that on the left there is some sort of a description of what the project is. Then in the middle there is the computer with the project, and on the right side there is a detailed description. And each of the projects, they have this own island with many platforms that are somehow continuous, and when something is lower we can put a larger thing there, when something is higher we can put something else, when something is more vertical then it's easier to read, when something is more horizontal we can put some stuff on top. But the main thing is we still are a studio that is doing computational design and parametric design. And we decided to also do it here this way, and therefore we created parametric tools that generated these plinths. So in other words, we made a little piece of a software that took the landscape, took the parameters of what we needed to exhibit. It generated the top and bottom plate, which is made of steel. Then it generated the wooden board that is on the very top, and also it generated the legs. And we didn't really know upfront how many we are going to need and what types we are going to need. And this really helped us to postpone the design itself until the very last moment. And eventually we were able to generate 54 of these, I think, in the very last days of production. Because only then we knew what we are actually exhibiting and what is going to be the content. If we didn't really have the generator of the plinths, we probably wouldn't have time to finish. That's one thing that was quite important. But as I said, this exhibition is about ecological impact or impact on nature, on somehow dealing with the fact that we really do have to start thinking about what we are actually doing. And in fact, this is, for Subdigital, the ecology is never the main concern, but we do worry and care in a way when we really want to know. We don't want to compromise the design. We care about the design in the first place, but we really want to be responsible, and we really want to know what is the impact that we make. And in the first version of the exhibition, our plan was to design all these tables that are well optimized. They look complex. They actually are quite complex, and they spend a lot of material. And we didn't know actually how much waste do we create while doing this. So we made precise calculations of an unoptimized version when it comes to the material and an optimized version. The unoptimized version, I think, had like 70% of material was a waste. Then we optimized it to 49% of material was a waste, which is still a huge number. But if you think how this is created, it's basically laser cut from sheets of metal. Then when you consider that the aerial geometry, whatever is remained outside of the object that you cut out, there's always a larger area than what is inside, then 49% doesn't sound so bad. But eventually we managed to even reduce the impact fairly under this number. But the original idea was that we create the plinths, the steel parts, as nice as we want them, as pure and design, well, when it comes to design, as intentional as possible, and then we'll take the waste and just add it to the rest, just to show this is also the waste. We're planning to physically weld the wasted material to the plinths themselves. We eventually didn't do it. There are two reasons. One is that we didn't have that much of a waste. It would be just really scraps of metal. We originally thought that there would be much more waste, or it will be better articulated, more clear that this is a waste that we created. We created less waste than we thought. And the other reason was that we didn't really, it was kind of emotional. When we saw the result, we thought, okay, let's not put the waste there. And also practically, this is already heavy enough. Putting some more weight on it, that would be impossible. Maybe it would be nice if you could, Tomáš, speak about the material and the production, and what actually does it mean to bring this from the computer to reality? What is the production? And then maybe I will talk briefly about the script itself that we made in Grasshopper and what were the challenges there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, as Jan mentioned, we were working with two materials: the plinth itself, the table that is holding all the panels is made of steel, which we at the end managed to optimize much better than we firstly thought, and we were able to get rid of that much waste of material. The big challenge or big opportunity when designing digitally is that since we used digital fabrication tools as CNC laser cutters and CNC mills, we actually didn't have to produce all the plans as it's usually done when drawing architecture or design. So there was actually no manufacturer that would physically by hand work with our plans and cut out all the pieces we needed. So all the digital data that we generated using the software tools that we are using with design, we just fed to the fabrication tools. And actually, the laser cutting and CNC mills tools, they can operate with digital data to produce such output. The challenge for us is then to collect all the fabricated pieces. As Jan mentioned, we created the exhibition system as more than 50 tables, which each of one consists of two bigger plates of metal, 5, 6, or 7 legs, and then one wooden piece. So the biggest challenge for us was to mark and sign all the pieces in a way that we would be able to organize them and assemble together in a correct way, because there are hundreds of the legs we generated, and each one has only the one particular way it can be assembled in the whole system. So it gives us this result then that we have. So when working the way we work, this is the greatest challenge, and it somehow changes the way architects and designers work, that they don't have to spend as much time drawing and describing the design or the idea for manufacturer in the general way that is somehow normed. But for such solutions, we have to think of our own ways how to design the notation system and to be able to put everything together. So
it always happens with this digital fabrication that eventually there is always a human slavery labor which is conducted by ourselves. So we got dirty many times, and we had to finish the assembly ourselves, or we do collaborate with very handy craftsmen and suppliers and contractors, but still we spend a lot of time with them to actually finish the thing with them, because we usually create something that is so unusual that we would really spend way more time on the documentation rather than just being with them.
In the context of the topic of the exhibition itself, this might be a take on the traditional crafts that were always labored by hand by the craftsmen. Nowadays, craftsmen need to know technology. They are using technologies, but they also get in touch with the materials. So this is something that maybe craftsmen of the future has to consider, that it may be more effective in the terms of time, material consumption, and money, actually, that using these digital tools makes everything easier and faster. But then also we need to think of the final touch of the material that cannot be done any other way than by humans. So the basic thinking about how the digital tools are changing the whole design and manufacturing process is not in a way that somehow the digital tools are taking away work from the craftsmen, but the craftsmen need to understand the potential of tools and maybe to be able to read what are the outputs of such tools and be able to work with them in their hands-on work at the end.
And on the other hand, the designer, the architect needs to know the crafts as well. I've never been working that much with the material, drill, and sandpaper as much as we did here, and other projects as well, because we really need to become craftsmen as well, because we cannot really delegate all the work to somebody else. So yeah, it actually brings the craftsmen and the designers much closer together, and we need to collaborate also physically. We need to be present, both of us in both of the stages of design.
But actually, this is not something what is new to architecture. Architects a couple decades ago used to work much closer with materials, develop their own details, and being present in the manufacturing as well. And I think nowadays with the new technology, this is also coming back, but in a slightly new perspective with new tools.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm now thinking, yeah, there was one more thing that we also need to, when we were producing this is so unstandard that we also had to be present at each of the stage, including some transportation, and not only, we didn't only have to be there during the welding, but also when we were transporting and taking care of stuff, because of all the documentation, what belongs where and what fits where, because none of the pieces are universal. They all fit the special location. This is something that is very typical for the mass customization that comes with the computational design and parametric design, that we are not prefabricated anything. We are not making universal assembly pieces, but all of the pieces are designed specifically to fit that one place. So they need to be marked, and because they can be replaced by another piece. Now thinking whether I should talk a little bit about the technicalities of the Grasshopper stuff that we made. I think I will just very briefly. Maybe if when you're watching this, if you find it interesting, maybe I can make a really hands-on tutorial in Grasshopper that will describe what did we actually do and what sort of optimization were we using and why. But generally speaking,
Maybe one little thing. You were mentioning grasshoppers. For those who doesn't know these digital design tools, the computational design nowadays is usually very often made with 3D design software called Rhinoceros. And there is a plugin which allows us to work with visually node system coding that is called Grasshopper. So these are basically the tools. They are named by different animals. So usually when digital designer talks about animals, he means plugins for the software he's using.
Yeah. It's so natural that I kind of forgot to introduce. Sorry for that. But here, I would just very briefly talk about the ideas behind. This is not really bound to any specific tool. But really, let me know if you want to see a hands-on tutorial on that. It's possible. That's something that we can share with the community. That's part of our responsibility to the community. So generally we split the tooling, the computational parametric tools into several stages. So we finished one sort of processing, then we stepped to another one, and so on. So first of all, we had to split the landscape into the cells, into the leaves, petals that you can see, the actual shapes of the tables. And then we had to split it into two materials. The one is the wood on top, but underneath there is a steel platform that holds it. There's basically the same shape as the wooden part, but it's slightly offset. There we had to be very careful about the size. It cannot be too small. And we also had to think about the attachment bolts. So we pre-planned some holes around the circumference of the shape that holds the boards. Also, we had to make a lot of them because when you are drilling a hole into the wood, you shouldn't be doing it into the same hole more than once. Which means that we knew that we are going to reinstall the exhibition. So when you unscrew the screw from the wood, that you cannot really reuse the same position. So we had to prepare way more holes for the screws. So that was the top platform. And then on the bottom, if you look at the video, you see that the shapes of the actual floor piece is slightly different than the top one. It's way smoother, so they're some sort of pebbles sitting on the ground. But still, they are made of the same geometry. They are just way smoother and relaxed. And in between, there are those legs. And so that was another piece of a Grasshopper script that we made that generated a set of legs. All of them had the same size on the top and the same size on the bottom. And we didn't really know, we didn't decide how many legs each of the plinths is going to have. It was given parametrically. So the bigger and heavier the plinth, the more legs it has. So the minimum is 5, maximum I think is 7 or 8, not really sure. And they had to be somehow placed so that they don't collide and they are distributed evenly. And at this point, there are several optimization options. We could measure how stiff the result is going to be and how well distributed the legs are. But we decided to use some sort of a semi-brute force, not some sort of evolutionary algorithms or different space search optimization algorithms. So we basically generated 200 versions of each of the tables. And then we selected the one version that distributed the legs most evenly around the plinth, and also that distributed, that spent as little material as possible. So when you think how many of the plinths we actually generated, it's 54 times 200, and we only picked the 54 most efficient ones. This still took a lot of time, and it's probably not the best way of doing things, but the fitness function for any more sophisticated way of searching for an optimized solution would be incredible amount of work, and the result would be more or less the same. But still, when we were generating those 200 versions, we had to take care of many things. We had to take care of intersections, but not only the intersections of the likes in the virtual space, but also in the physical space. We also needed to take care that the likes are not interfering with other things like the holes for the screws and so on. Eventually, when we had all the distributions, we had to somehow take into consideration the thickness of the material. So if you think about a piece of sheet metal that you put perpendicularly to another piece of sheet metal, then it's quite easy because you put the top layer on something that is flat. But if you just tilt it a little, then actually when you're working with something that is 3 millimeters thick, you can end up having 2 or 3 millimeters intersection with the other platform, and the same on the bottom part. And then the legs might not fit, and maybe the top will be somehow skewed. So then we had all these configurations. We actually measured the dimensions again, and we adjusted the length of the legs so that they all end up in the same vertical plane and also horizontal plane. Well, vertical I mean horizontal on the bottom and semi-horizontal on the top. So there was another step of optimization, and then there was the annotation. We actually were placing some notes that were engraved into the metal. There was a note on the bottom plate saying which one of the island it is, which one of the plinth it is, and whether it's a bottom or top. So there were 3 numbers telling us which one metal is that. The same about the legs. It was saying which plinth it was belonging to which island and what leg number. And on the bottom and on the top, there were marks telling us where should we weld each of the legs. That helped a lot. Otherwise, we wouldn't be really able to put it together at all, because we had 50 times 5 legs, well, even more, which look fairly similar, but they are not, and you can replace one with each other. So the annotation was a very important part as well.
For me, what was very interesting and nice to see that actually the way we worked was that we took the bottom plate of the metal, then found the responding legs to that, and according to the marks on the bottom plate, we were placing 2 or 3 legs and welding them to the bottom plate. Then we were attaching the top plate, and then we were attaching all the rest of the legs. And I was at first, before we made the prototype, I was a little concerned that if we are able, because when you work with hands, you cannot rely on 100% precision. So I was really nicely impressed that this way of annotation allowed us to be able to make small mistakes, to be good enough in precision, but with each leg we put as extra to the assembly, we were closer and closer to the actual 3D digital model, which was precise. So with every added item to the whole system of a table, with each leg we get closer and closer to the 100% precision. So in this way we were able to everything to be in acceptable tolerance of precision.
Yeah, that is the thing when you bring something into reality, that mainly when it's from the digital domain, it's some sort of a relieving satisfaction that it actually works as planned, and it more or less did work. There was one thing about the exhibition that, because we knew that this is going to be displayed in different countries, we somehow, together with the Slovak Design Center and all the collaborators, we had to somehow decide how are we going to localize or specify the exhibition for the country where we are exhibiting. The first installment was in Slovakia, which means that we had to use a different language than the one in Vienna, which was certainly was supposed to be in German. So the decision was made that all the comments or all the text on the panels is going to be in English, except one that is containing all the translations into the local language, which actually means that when we are installing the exhibition in a new country, we only need to replace panels that contain the translation, which means if we have 13 projects, then it's 13 panels. But well, the reality was eventually different, right?
Yeah. We planned it in a way that, because one of the great limits of each of the project is also the budget. So we are not able for every reinstallation of the exhibition to redo all the panels and create everything as new from scratch. So we played it clever in a way that we only used the language that needs to be translated on one, maximum two panels for each project. So we somehow minimized the number of panels that need to be redone for every exhibition, and each exhibition, each reinstallation of exhibition uses the whole system of existing metal pieces, and we are redoing only the minimal necessary amount of wooden pieces that consists all the information that is necessary for the project. Actually, we were not speaking, I think, about the wooden parts yet, but just to mention, it is nice plywood material that is CNC milled into the shapes we need, and all the prints, all the information that is printed directly on the wooden panels is done by UV printing, ultraviolet printing system that allows us to apply the paint directly on any kind of material, which we used here. Actually, we should, I think, mention also our collaborators in fabrication for this project.
So many, I just took a note that we should actually mention all of these people, also the graphic designer and the photographer, and well, let's do that.
Okay. Yeah. So the great part of the exhibition was produced according to our plans by a company called named Forefrom Media, a Slovak company sitting in the central Slovakia. They have great possibilities of digital fabrication tools. They helped us with printing and CNC milling of the wooden panels. And all the manual fabrication was done by the metal manufacturing company called called La Fera, that is seated near Bratislava, and we are very happy that we can work with this company on our metal works, because they are always open to new things that we bring, because every time we try to manufacture something, we need to explain that it should be done differently, that you would usually want to do that, and we can somehow explain how and we can join you in the manufacture system.
And this specific project was probably the most traditional one that we made so far, and still it wasn't so traditional. But I would also like to mention people who contributed to the design. It was for the graphic design, it was Truben Studio. And also all the pictures that you see in the videos was taken by Petra Rjabinin, photographer. And well, it's still an exhibition that was completely put together by the Slovak Design Center, and they did an incredible amount of work here as well. Well, they did most of the work here. We were just the architects, but we also took care of the production of the exhibition itself, which is something also that was a good experience for us, because this was not about only creating a product, but also about communicating with a huge amount of involved people with their own interest and their own special personal affiliation to their own project, which is more than understandable. So also when it comes to the production part of the thing itself, not only of the physical object, but also the people involved. This was quite a massive project for us. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we discussed a lot about the exhibition. I still think that at a certain point we could create a tutorial that is explaining a little bit more about how did we actually achieve certain things, and how did we use the digital tools to create also the documentation, the fabrication documentation, the annotated plans for laser cutting and engraving, but that probably sometime in the future, maybe under the brand of research tutorials that you hopefully know as well, that we are doing. But still, we promise that this is going to be some sort of an interactive talking. So is there any question from
I was
watching?
just checking, and no, we don't have any questions.
But we see that some people are watching. That's a
Yeah.
good part. So it's not only us talking. But
yeah. I think this format of streaming or podcast is very good to have something as a background to the work, so you can learn and get new information while doing something else. So.
But that's also some sort of a responsibility. If people should learn from us, then we should be talking about important and relevant stuff. So it's very demanding. Anyway, I think that's more or less it. We shouldn't really stretch it too much. I think it actually we've been talking for an hour and a half, which is quite enough for people watching us, but also it's not so bad for us, and maybe it could be beneficial for us to do this a little bit more often, because very often it happens that people say that they don't really understand or know what we are doing. We are very happy that people already know the brand Subdigital, which we don't really have that long, but we still remain somehow unreadable to many people. So this is not such a bad way of explaining who we are, what do we do, and how do we do stuff. It seems that we cannot really find time to write blogs. So shall we do this again? I think it was not so bad for us.
Yeah. Right. I think this is a great way how to document the work we are doing and to explain it further without having to make a complex scientific research articles.
Which we actually do as well at the universities, right? But nevertheless, we'll be very happy to hear from you. We'll be very happy to hear some sort of a feedback, whatever it is. Whether you like what we were saying, whether you were disliked what we were doing here. We like to hear from you. Also, if you're interested in some specific things, if you would like to hear about something a little bit more, which we hope that you do, please let us know, because it might really happen very soon that we run out of ideas. So far, there's a lot of projects that we haven't been talking about and a lot of topics, but at a certain point we run out of the projects. Actually, there are so many projects that are not published on our website yet, so this would be a good way of actually showing them as well.
Yeah, and the video stays online for as long as we don't delete it, which we are not planning to. So you can come back to it and ask questions even sometime in the future. So
yeah, just feel free to comment under the video, and we'll at a certain point come to it and try to answer or reply anyway. Right?
Okay. So yeah, thanks
Thank you for
everyone
watching. Thank you for Tomasz for putting this together, and see you maybe next week or in a couple of days, or maybe in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Take care.
Bye. Take care.